Understanding bee behavior. A bee's brain is the size of a grass seed, yet in this tiny brain are encoded some of the most complex and amazing behavioral patterns witnessed outside humankind. For bees are arguably the only animals apart from humans which have their own language. Earlier this century, Carl von Fries, a professor of zoology at Munich University, spent decades of the purest joy of discovery unraveling the mysteries of bee. For his astonishing achievements, he was awarded the Nobel Prize, and it is from his work that most of today's knowledge of what bees say to each other derives. It started simply enough. Von Fries knew from experiments by an earlier researcher that if he put out a bowl of sweet sugar syrup, bees might at first take some time to find it, but once they had done so, within the hour hundreds of other bees would be eagerly taking the syrup. Von Fries realized that in some way messages were being passed on back at the hive, messages which said, out there at this spot you are going to find food. But how was it happening? To watch the bees, von Fries constructed a glass-sided hive. He found that once the scout bees arrived back at the hive, they would perform one of three dance types. In the first type, a returning scout scampered in circles, alternating the right and left, stopping occasionally to regurgitate food samples to the excited bees chasing after her. In the second dance, clearly an extended version of this round dance, she performed a sickle-shaped figure of 8 patterns instead. In the third, distinctly different dance, she started by running a short distance in a straight line, waggling her body from side to side and returning in a semicircle to the starting point before repeating the process. She also stopped from time to time to give little bits of food to begging bees. Soon the others would excitedly leave the hive in search of food. Minutes later, many of them, marked by von Fries, could be seen eating at the bowls of sugar syrup. Experimenting further, von Fries unraveled the mystery of the first two related types, the round and the sickle dance. These dance, he concluded, told the bees simply that within quite short distance of the hive there was a food source worth chasing. The longer and more excitedly the scout danced, the richer the promise of the food source. The scent she carried in her samples and on her body was a message to the other bees that this particular food was the one they were looking for. The other would then troop out of the hive and fly in spiraling circles, sniffing in the wind for the promised food. At first, von Fries thought the bees were responding only to the scent of the food. But what did the third dance mean? And if bees were responding only to the scent, how could they also sniff down food hundreds of meters away from the hive, food which was sometimes downwind? On a hunch, he started gradually moving the feeding dish farther and farther away and noticed as he did so that the dances of the returning scout bees also started changing. If he placed the feeding dish over 9 meters away, the second type of dance, the sickles version, came into play. but once he moved it past 36 meters, the scouts would then start dancing the third, quite different woggle dance. The measurement of the actual distance too, he concluded, was precise. For example, a feeding dish 300 meters away was indicated by 15 complete rounds through the pattern in 30 seconds. When the dish was moved to 60 meters away, the number dropped to 11. Von Fries noted something further. When the scout bees came home to tell their sisters about the food source, sometimes they would dance outside on the horizontal entrance platform of the hive and sometimes on the vertical wall inside. And depending on where they danced, the straight portion of the woggle dance would point in different directions. The outside dance was fairly easy to decode. The straight portion of the dance pointed directly to the food source. So the bees would merely have to decode the distance message and fly off in that direction to find their food. But by studying the dance on the inner wall of the hive, Von Fries discovered a remarkable method which the dancer used to tell her sisters the direction of the food in relation to the sun. When inside the hive, the dancer can't use the sun, so she uses gravity instead. The direction of the sun is represented by the top of the hive wall. If she runs straight up, this means that the feeding place is in the same direction as the sun. However, if, for example, the feeding place is 40 degrees to the left of the sun, then the dancer would run 40 degrees to the left of the vertical line. This was to be the first of Von Fries's remarkable discoveries. Soon he would also discover a number of other remarkable facts about how bees communicate, and in doing so revolutionize the study of animal behavior generally. Question answer 35 to 37. The writer mentions three of bee dance identified by Von Fries. List the name the writer gives to each dance. Use one word only for each answer. Write your answer in boxes 35 to 37 and you write here. Look at the passage about bee behavior on the previous pages. Complete the sentence below with word taken from the passage. Write no more than 3 words for each answer. Von Fries discovered the difference between dance types by changing the position of the dance outside the hive. Points in the direction of something here. The angles of the dance from the vertical shows the angle of the food from, answer is here, round, 3 type of dance, round, sickle and woggle, the feeding dish, the food and sun. Okay guys, thank you for watching.